Today we're going to show you how to change the idler assembly on your dryer. It's a pretty easy job. All we're going to need is a putty knife, a 5/16 nut driver, a pair of needle nose pliers, and a 7/16 socket. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to gain access to this component, we're going to need to lift the main top up and remove the front panel, which will expose us to some electrical circuits. So the first thing we need to do is disconnect power to the dryer. If it has a cord on it, simply remove it from the receptacle. If it's a hardwired dryer, we'll need to locate the breakers or the fuses and disconnect those. Next, we'll take a putty knife and we'll insert it in the slot between the main top and the front panel in about 4 inches from either side. You'll find a spring clip there. So we'll press that spring clip back, lift up on the main top, and then we'll tilt it back far enough and make sure it's supported against the wall. Next, we'll disconnect the wires to the door switch. Mark these before you remove them so you know where to put them again. Just tuck those out of the way. And if your dryer has a light switch on it, you'll need to remove those wires as well. There are two 5/16 hex head screws that secure the front panel to the cabinet. We'll need to remove those. Now we can tilt the front panel forward and lift it off of the 2 hooks on the bottom of the cabinet. Now the next step in this repair is to remove the front bulkhead. It's held in place with 4 5/16 hex head screws. There are 2 locking tabs on the bottom portion here that will need to be disengaged as well. Pull forward the top of that bulkhead, and we'll have to lift up on the drum a little bit because we need to pull this whole front bulkhead assembly upwards to release those 2 tabs. Then it's a matter of sliding it forward to disengage from the blower housing. Now the next step is to remove the drum. What we do is just tilt it forward so we can get our hand in on the top at the back, and we'll lift it off of the rear rollers just to release a little tension on the belt. The idler assembly is located in here that puts tension on that belt. So we'll reach in through this side, locate the belt and the idler, pull the idler towards the right side, release that tension, and simply roll the belt off of the idler and the motor. Now we can lift the drum out of the cabinet. And we now have access to do our repair. Now the easiest way to replace that idler assembly is to remove the whole motor and blower assembly from the dryer. Held in place with 2 5/16 screws at the front. Remove those 2 screws. Remove the harness to the motor. Simply depress the locking tabs on the side, squeeze those together, and then pull it out. And we'll slide the whole assembly forward, and we'll pull it right out of the dryer. Next, we need to remove that 7/16 bolt, and there's a nut on the back side of it that you may have to put a pair of pliers on to hold it from turning. Disengage the spring from the old eider arm. That bolt has a shoulder on it that fits into the hole in the bottom of the eider arm. So when we mount the new one in, we want to make sure that we don't bind that up. Put the bolt in place first. And we'll have to hold that nut from behind until we get it started. A pair of needle nose pliers will get a grip on it, and we'll tighten that bolt up. Again, make sure that we don't bind the shoulder of the bolt on the eider bracket. You can hook the spring on. Moves freely. Now we'll slide the motor and blower assembly back into place. There's a tab at the back here that fits into a slot on the base. Line up the vent. And then replace the 2 screws at the front. Reconnect the motor harness. Now in the process of disassembling the old eider arm assembly and replacing it with the new one, we want to make sure that we leave enough grease on the back side of the motor base so that that will slide freely and not bind up. Now we're ready to put the drum back in. Now we're ready to replace the drum. Set it back just far enough that it touches the rear drum rollers. Line the belt up where it should be, and then we'll reattach it to the eider and the motor pulleys. Now we can lift it up onto the rear drum rollers. And we'll just give it a couple turns to make sure that the belt lines itself up. And now we're ready to put the front bulkhead on. Now we're ready to reinstall the bulkhead. All we have to do is make sure that we have the drum sitting on 2 front glides and that we have this lined up with the blower housing. Have to lift the whole assembly up so that we can re-engage the 2 tabs with the slots on the cabinet. And now we can install the 4 screws. Next, we're ready for the front panel. Now we're ready to reinstall the front panel. So we'll locate the 2 slots on the bottom of the front panel with the hooks on the base of the cabinet. Make sure those are engaged. There are a couple of locator pins that are on the back side of the front panel that will line up holes in the front of the cabinet. So make sure those line up. Next, we'll reinstall the 5/16 screws and secure the front panel to the cabinet. Next, we'll reinstall the wires to the light bulb. Make sure the terminals fit snugly. If they're loose, you'll need to crimp them with a pair of needle nose pliers. Next, we'll reconnect the wires to the door switch. We're ready to put the main top down. We'll engage the locator pins all the way around and then snap it into place. We're ready to reconnect the power and our repair is complete.